And by she, you mean her demon?
Because
Yeah, of course.
the reason why it was around me because it wanted me. And see, I was playing a really, really risky game with sticking around for that situation because I was aware of the intentions of the entity. She was not aware.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I would have direct eye contact with that thing, and I would see it in dream state. As far as when I went to sleep, I was like, okay, I could see the motives more clear when I was in dream state, and I was just like, and then I would come back from the astral, and then and when she would have certain actions towards me and reactions, I knew that it was the thing. It wanted me to compromise myself so it could take over me because it felt my power.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? And wanted to overtake me. And so when it found out basically that I was pretty much, it could read minds too, that I was pretty much strategically kind of outmaneuvering all of the, advances and, the little tricks and everything. I wasn't going to let that shit happen. I was kind of doing a dance, but trying to help her. And when it figured that shit out, that it wasn't going to get me, like ever, and I was trying to basically separate, kind of debark her ass off my friend, that's when the entity went crazy. I don't know, the girl flipped.
For questions, comments, and to show your support, visit us on the web at afroempath.com. Like, I've noticed that with a community of empaths, sometimes what you'll attract is people that are actually codependents. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, that's true.
And
that's true.
Yeah, and they're looking, they're looking to always find. And what they're trying to do is a lot of times they'll try and inflate your ego. You know what I'm trying to say, or they'll do something to get you off balance. So their demons can they take hold of you and suck from you. You know what I'm trying to say? Meaning that I'm saying that with everything in life, you're trying to say you have to take responsibility for where you're at. That doesn't mean not seek guidance. You know what I'm trying to say? If you're in need of that. For example, if you have an alcohol issue, you know what I'm trying to say? You might seek guidance from a counselor, you know what I'm trying to say, who specializes in that. But you've taken responsibility that the issue is something that stems within you. Sometimes people don't take responsibility that the issue is within them first. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah, let me give you an example, and that's true for every type of service, health field service, regardless of if it's a psychologist, a counselor, a drug, alcohol, counsel, abuser, coach, or a life coach, anything.
It could be a priest.
You have to take the
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be a priest or anything, a spiritual guide or whatever.
Bingo.
An astrologer. I mean, you have to take the responsibility for yourself. I do understand what you're saying. A lot of people, they think that they can kind of live vicariously through another person.
Bingo, exactly.
To where like through association, like symbiotically, by just being around you, you can kind of alleviate my pain and suffering, like touching the hem of Jesus or something.
Bingo.
The hem of the garment. Like, I understand this whole complex. Now, having said that, I've dealt with that energy, especially when I started to consciously and purposely do healing work, because before, as an empath, you know that we automatically attract people that need healing. And so people were always coming to me, wanting, like, telling me their problems, wanting me to help them. And I was just like resisting. I was like, man, I don't want to deal with it. And then it got, I was being sympathetic to some, and others I was just like, man, they just keep coming. And so eventually you figure out, okay, this, what I'm here to do is, I have this healing energy, and how I want to use it is up to me. But, I'm supposed to help other people. And so basically when I started doing that consciously and, doing healing work, I started up, doing Reiki and stuff. And so I would trust me, I've gotten some some interesting characters, and you can't control, especially if you put yourself out there, in business. If you're promoting yourself, if you have a website and whatnot, you can't really control who comes in and patrons your business.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's an open thing. So
open door, yeah.
Right, but you can, it's up to you who you want to work with and who you don't.
Bingo, who you can take on, yeah, exactly.
And have some control. And I've had to, basically, in the past, there have been some people that were kind of like what you're describing. They have that kind of mentality.
Codependence.
The codependency, and then they also have the, like, a victimization type of, paradigm going on as well. And so it's the codependency plus that. It's like every time you're trying to self-empower this person, they're going to basically come up with another reason why you need to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, no, it's about, you getting to the point where you can, manage your life, come into balance, center, and transmutate this stuff for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And like,
everybody wants a quick fix, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay to deny some people because you have to sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that empaths
have a hard time with.
Especially if you started professionally working in some type of service capacity, whether it be life coach or whatever. You have to learn that. You learn that the hard way, and it could take a long time because those people will drain the life out of you.
Hell yeah, I'm learning that shit hella quick. They will drain
the life out of you.
Yeah, I'm learning that shit hella quick.
And they will ask you. You show them something, teach them something, and then they come back with the same issue. And it's just like,
they don't want to learn. What they want is your energy. They want your energy. They don't want to learn.
Did you take responsibility for in your own healing?
Bingo.
Or they feel great, you know what I'm saying, and then all of a sudden the issue comes back up. It's just like, no, we're dealing with root causes here. You know the cause. Yeah. And you know the issues. Have you dealt with those issues?
They don't want to deal with their underlying pain and their underlying issues. They want to come from you, get their feel source of love. Oh, I feel that. It's like having a cookie or some shit. You know what I'm trying to say? Oh, that's a good cookie.
You said
I want another cookie.
Some ice cream.
Yeah, it's like some sweeties, some shit. That's what love is. You know what I'm trying to say? That's what people have sugar addictions because they're looking for love and comfort. And so an empath is love and comfort for them. But unfortunately, they don't want to find that. They don't want to find that source of love within themselves. And for me, what I'm doing is not about me being your everything. Then that would drain me if I'm your fuel source. You know what I'm trying to say? Even though my cup of love is running over, you still need to find that within yourself. So it's about you finding that within yourself, so you can then be a catalyst of change. And this spreads like a virus. Now, if you
yes, definitely.
Yeah, now
that's what it's about.
That's exactly. But some people, what they intentionally act as if they want to be that way, but when it comes down to it, what they really want, they want to like stop that virus from spreading. You know what I'm trying to say? That virus of change, that virus of love. You know what I'm trying to say? They want to quarantine your ass of love, because you know what, they know that vibration spreads in this world.
As if you can possess it, right?
Yeah, they know that that vibration of love spreads in the world. That's gonna. Some people are possessed by demons, and demons are the residing force in their life, not love, right? So when you begin to spread love in this world, right? Especially black people, because we have a fuck ton of demons. We've been carrying them shits for quite some time, if not millions of years, right? And when you start creating that change, they're demons. It's not them that's doing it. It's not them that's a codependent. It's their demons are codependents, right? And they're not in control of themselves, and I can feel it, So they will try and sabotage you. They will try and sabotage you. They've already sabotaged themselves.
You're no joke. You're no joke. Okay, prime example. Okay, the lady that I had in mind when I gave you that example of I've dealt with these issues before. Okay, so I invested a lot of time in her. I even outside of the fee. I invested more time. I didn't charge her for anything because, I had a sense of compassion. She was new to me. She was kind of isolated. She was just like, she's an empath, and, she doesn't have, a lot of fellowship of like-minded individuals, and she was dealing with an issue, and I put some time into her and everything like that. And then, I gave her blessing, and then, I was just like, yeah, you can definitely book, some more appointments and everything periodically, because healing is not an event. Healing is a process.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee anything because, you take responsibility for yourself. Now you're going to see results, as you work, but it's not like healing is not something magic, it's not like something like, oh,
one and done.
Right, like they think it's some kind of like a miracle, it's like, no, that doesn't happen. It's a process. And so this is, it's not going to be one time. You're going to have to work. And so, I kind of laid that expectation. She's all agreeing, this, the third. And, she bought some of my products and stuff like that. And the same thing that you're talking about, she kept having this victimization, codependency. She kept trying to contact me outside of appointments, like booked appointments that she was scheduling. She was really trying to cipher my energy, establish a connection to where she had access to me anytime she wanted. And I was like, there's going to have to be some boundaries here. And so I kept it professional, and I would kind of not feed into, the small talk, the other stuff that she was saying to try to capture my attention. If it, related to, the products or the sessions, the healing sessions, or if she had questions, I would address it. But outside of that, I wasn't feeding into it because I was like, oh, I see where this is going. We're going to have to nip this in the bud. And so basically, she got upset and she retaliated. She went on my website, and a lot of people do that. You'll get a lot of trolls, especially if you're visible, in the public sphere, like if you have a forum, a website, or anything like that. But this one she just stood out. She just stood out because it was so crazy. She just bombed my website, like with the bad reviews. And it was just basic lies. She was just like, don't buy the product. She was like, she just went off, completely off. And it corresponded exactly after I ignored her rant. She sent me a long email, and it was on some personal, hey, girlfriend type of something. I'm like, oh, no, it's not. This is not the extent of our relationship. You don't have access anytime you want. So it's just like it didn't relate to business. I didn't respond to it because as soon as you give into that, it's just like, okay, you have to keep. If you give into it an inch, they're going to take a mile, and it's just like don't entertain.
You got to set boundaries. You got to set boundaries.
That you don't.
Clear boundaries.
Yeah, energy you don't want. And so, I ignored that, and then I don't know how she found that. She found my, because I have a business Facebook page, which I give out. It's on the business card. And so that's what I have for professionally, to clients or whatever, people, customers who, if you want to order a product or whatever, you go to the business Facebook page. She got mad that I didn't respond via the email. She found my personal friends and family Facebook page and requested. And don't you know, that sat in that inbox for so long. I was just like, no, this has gone too far, because now she's internet stalked me. And so when I didn't respond to her request on my personal friends and family page, my personal life, no business done on this page. You know me in person. We have a personal relationship. She went off. She went completely off. So yeah, I've seen my fair share of stuff like that. But I was trying to find. There's this woman that I'm friends with on my Black Ether page, and she does life coaching, and we're Facebook friends. So I seen a post that she put up one day, and it pertained to this matter, and I'm trying to find it because it was perfect. And when I saw that post, I related to that post so much, because it was just spot on. I was like, yep, that's exactly how it went, but I'm trying to find it. When I find it, I'm going to read it, because it was just kind of like everything we're talking about kind of summed into one. And
Yeah. Well, I'll you look for it. I'll speak in the meantime. But what I think it is that ultimately what happens is when they begin to develop narcissistic tendencies, because a narcissist is always looking for a fuel source of love outside themselves, right? But what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a polarity to love, right? So the love and hate are the same thing. So meaning that if they can't get positive energy and healing energy from you, they're okay with getting negative energy from you too. That's what a lot of people don't realize, is that they're actually cool with that. They don't mind you hating them, as long as there's something. They need to get energy from you in some form or fashion. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's when you cut them off altogether. So like when you do an energy.
Oh yeah, she was definitely looking for a response. She wanted anything. She was just
bingo.
Begging for
She was
something.
desperate for energy. Exactly. Bingo. Exactly. That's
so
exactly
I was just
it.
like, okay, this is, she has, and it didn't take me long to spot it, because, like I said, it's to the point where I can see that shit coming a mile away. So I was just like, it was just the balance of me. That was kind of like when I first started, professionally putting myself out there. So it was kind of like, I knew it, but it was kind of like trying to find that balance of keeping the professionalism and not being rude, and also kind of trying to manage that and hold those boundaries. So that's why it kind of took a little bit, but no, that was kind of early on.
Yeah, it's just lessons. Just lessons we gotta learn. I've had to learn them, and I just learned one very very recently, just very recently. Oh yeah, and
was somebody bombing your email?
Not quite. No, they weren't quite like that. It wasn't that bad. But I'll say this, that like, I was doing some energetic healing with somebody, and I was doing some, and they've been through some very traumatic childhood, very very traumatic, and I was basically I was healing their heart, and I was doing that.
Right.
But what I was
definitely doing that life coaching and going through.
What I do is I literally can go in and I literally can go in and take your pain and transmute your pain and your trauma. It'll take me.
Okay, so you were doing actually the healing, even more than a life coach, because I know you do the life coaching, but you were actually going in there and transmuting that energy out.
Yes, okay. Some serious trauma, and it worked.
Yeah,
it worked. But the thing is that even how can I put it? Even though like what I've realized is that even if you help bring love into somebody's life, if they still haven't cleared those demons that draw from the source of love that is within them already, that's sucking the life from them dry, you know what I'm trying to say? Then you're going to give them love, and because they have demons, the demons are going to suck, and it's going to be gone again, because, you know what I'm trying to say? Because there's how can I put it? It's like their body is like taken over by like a parasite. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. I've dealt with that before, where I was dealing with someone who they had a large entity. It was kind of their oversoul, basically. It was in the head position, and I had the spiritual sight to kind of see the entity. Like, the person didn't know that they were walking around with the entity. I kind of brought that to their attention. And basically, it was kind of weird, because I was, the person would be interacting with me and everything like that, but the entity, I could see the entity it was a higher class entity, because there's different classes of entities, which, I've kind of versed in that. It wasn't like a disembodied spirit, like someone who was earthbound before. It wasn't like a thought form, because the entity could be a thought form that you picked off another person. But it's just a piece of their astral body. But it's the part of it could be like, let's say, part of the person's personality is, okay, they like to go clubbing or they like to smoke cigarettes. Okay, that part of their astral body can get detached and, just kind of be out floating around, and another person can pick it up, and all of a sudden you feel like you want to smoke a cigarette all the time. You understand what I'm saying? Because you attracted the entity, but that entity is like just a piece of someone's energetic body or astral body. So that's a class of entity. There's also perverse energies, which is just dark, stagnant energy that gets stuck into your aura. And then there's also different classes of other world type of things, like fourth dimensional, lower fourth dimensional type entities. And they have varying strengths and classes as well. Now, this class of entity, this was a powerful entity, okay? This was it wasn't like the highest class of entity, like it wasn't like that, but it was higher than just your average,
Mm-hmm.
entity that people just have walking around.
No,
I
get you. Yeah.
It had a level of intelligence.
Correct.
That was beyond, just some average shit.
Bingo.
It was highly psychic.
Yes.
It could read my mind. It could read anybody's mind that was there.
Mm-hmm.
It had a very, very high control over this person's, vessel. Like it was controlling her emotions.
Bingo.
Thoughts, behaviors, reactions. I mean, everything it was just like playing strings on an instrument.
Bingo.
And and it was intelligent too. Like, this thing was smart as hell.
Yeah.
Like, it could see the thing before it could happen, and it would position her to react in a certain way and do all this stuff. So a lot of stuff that she was doing, it wasn't even from her. It was this thing doing it, and it was making her unhappy because she wanted to be happy. She wanted certain things, but part of the entity's goal was to basically keep her for itself.
Of course.
Now, the entity, it didn't want her in any type of relationship or any type of like close friendships or anything like that. So anybody that got close to her, the entity would like chase them away, but through her. You know what I'm saying?
Course.
Like,
absolutely.
Just make her say fuck shit, make her just do stupid shit. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Yes.
Or withdraw. All of a sudden, she would just feel like she didn't want to be there. But it would be at a critical time where she needed to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Bingo.
Like, it was strategic. The shit was strategic.
Oh yeah, of course.
And so it was very intelligent, and it was a feminine energy. This was the first time I had ever came into a high class, high level, very powerful. Like, when I say my spirit is powerful,
mm-hmm.
This thing was to the point like I didn't want to be around her.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I was vibrating very highly at that particular time, and I was just like, most things that were vibrating on a low level, most people wouldn't even be able to be around me. You
mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? They just naturally feel like they want to get away.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like those opposite levels of vibration on those polar ends. It's like oil and water.
Correct.
They don't really want to occupy the same space at the same time. So
Correct.
It's just physics.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, I'm vibrating higher. I'm emitting this type of energy. This low vibration is lower, and it just doesn't want to be around. It just goes away. So that's how it is. It's just like, and some people find that out when they start to evolve and they start vibrating higher, and they're like, well, all my friends are dropping off. Like, yeah, your friends are dropping off because you're in different places now, energetically, and you by nature it just happens. That's why it's just, it's a matter of physics. And so normally, a lower entity wouldn't even want to be around me. This entity it had no problem. This entity actually wanted me. Wanted the goal. This entity was taken aback that I was able to perceive it. And I don't think this entity had ever come into contact with someone like me. She hadn't been around, people like me. She was hanging around, other people that were kind of into kind of, lower chakra shit. They were, doing street shit, what I'm saying? And so I was her guiding light friend, her friend that was trying to encourage her to do this, that, and the third. And so when I perceived the entity, I looked the entity dead in the eye. This motherfucking shit was shocked the shit. I could perceive it reading my mind, and I projected thoughts back to it like, no, that's not going to happen. So it was just like, when it it was like it got upset and didn't want me around, but she didn't like try to distance herself from me. So it's like this entity it was a high level entity. At that point, I felt that the strategy for this entity is that it wanted to inhabit my body. It was trying to take control over me. And wanted me to compromise myself to the point where I would be susceptible to being overtaken.
Bingo.
So there were things that that she would do that was not normal to her, because I had known her for a long time, and she didn't always have that entity. It was like a period of time that we weren't hanging out because whatever, life or whatever, and she was in some type of relationship with some dude, and he was doing he was in all kinds of shit. He was like some kind of necrophilia left-hand path magic nigga or something.
Ew,
I don't know.
Damn, what the fuck?
I don't know. He was in all kind of, stuff, dark arts. So she was with him during that time, but she had broke off with him. So I hadn't seen her since that relationship. And so I've known her. I know who she is. And so this person with this entity, I'm like, yo, that's out of character. So I knew that it was, a lot of stuff wasn't coming from her. And so I was just like, girl, I need to tell you something, but I don't know how it's going to sound, and you might think I'm crazy, but yo, you got something on you, yo. Like, the average person would be like,
how do you pop that one? How do you pop that how do you bring that? How does that conversation start?
Listen, I don't know what, but she was receptive to it. And she, at that time, she said she felt relieved. I feel like I know that's true. And she was like, I think I caught it from, she said, old dude's name or something. And she was like, and I was like, could have been. I said, these things happen. I said, you don't necessarily have to catch it from anybody. I was like, you work in the health field, you work in a hospital, you deal, you're around a lot of sick people and people die there. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can pick up something like that, and it doesn't mean necessarily you're a bad person. And she used to have bouts of depression every now and then. And I said, when you're in a depressive state, you can easily get attached to. And he had left her, and, she went through a bunch of stuff, So I was like, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. I said, but I mean, that it can wreck your life. I was like, this is not some little baby shit. This thing is up here above your head. And when I saw it, I'm like, my friend, she's a tall woman. She's almost 6 feet. Like, she's model height. Like, she's she's probably about 5'11". Hell, yeah, she's about 5'11". She's tall, and so she's not a small girl. And this thing, when I say it was in an oversoul position, that's when an entity is in the position over your head. That's like that's like the master control center position. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not attached to your arm or your stomach or your neck or your leg or something like that. Like, when they're in that position, they're pretty much, they have a high level control over everything you do, because they're in your, central nervous system. They're in the oversoul position. And so it was like at least 6 or 7 foot expanded above her head, and she's 5'11", and it went from side to side. This was a big ass entity, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, girl, you must be fucking powerful, because why would something of that class want to attach to just an average everyday person. They wouldn't. They want somebody who is powerful, so they can, maneuver.
Feed.
And I'm like, you don't know your power. I was like, something's going on. I was like, well, you need to get rid of it. She was like, I felt like I had something on. She said that shit, and mind you, this wasn't a person who was that you would consider like quote unquote conscious or into spirituality or woke. Like I said, she was dealing with a lot of people that were operating on the lower chakras, just doing like mundane monkey nigga shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Correct.
She wasn't even in those circles.
Yeah.
But I think she's always been a spiritual person, but I think she was just kind of like downtrodden and kind of oppressed her whole life. You know what I mean? And so she really hadn't come into herself at that particular point. We're talking about this is a while back. I'm saying this we were in our 20s, like mid 20s. So you're still kind of finding yourself at that point, right? Mid late 20s. And so and I was just like, trying to help her. It was something that I wasn't qualified for. You know what I'm saying? I'm not qualified for that. I feel like I had done that in previous lifetimes. That's why I feel like sometimes people do come to me that have those things, but like I'm not into that. I'm not trying to be into that. It's a sticky situation to get into. You need to be initiated and go through a lot of you need to just have some guidance. And you know what I'm saying? It's not like the movie The Exorcist or anything. You need to be working with some powerful ancestors and spirits yourself. And you need to be very well grounded to deal with that. And I was just like, I'm not going to fall into that fucking trap. You understand? I understand that this needs to be. You need to go to some people that do this shit on a higher level. You know what I'm saying? And they do this. So I have a lot of contacts. So I was just like, let me get you up with some people that can help you. And she was all open to this shit. Like she was really. I was just like, damn. And so. She was dealing with it, and she was going through with it, and the closer she got to basically kicking that shit off, something would always happen like clockwork. And it wasn't her. It was almost like it was some schizo shit. It was the thing doing it, man. It was the thing. And I was just like, damn, this thing is fucking powerful. Because this chick was a strong-willed chick. This wasn't no like, she was like, she had some Mars energy. She was kind of I'd say she was an alpha chick. She was an alpha chick, but
what they do is the demons convince the person, the vessel, that it's needed for their protection. You know what I'm trying to say? And so it triggers their fight or flight response.
She's very, very defensive too. Very defensive.
Yeah.
So, it was always something that happened, and like that happened like maybe 5 or 6 times, and I'm like, shit, it never would take place to where, like, when the actual session would happen, she would be talking, and they'd be doing, more like a coaching work and prepping work, and then when it got time for the actual session, every time it was some like the craziest shit would happen, and she couldn't do it, and I was just like, damn. And I know she wasn't consciously doing that, but it was like this thing was creating this energy and this for the situation to happen. And I was like, shit, this is some crazy shit. I'm like, she's gonna have to just have the will. It's just gonna have to be straight willpower, because like she's gonna have to fight through it. If something happens, she's just gonna have to be like, fuck it. I'm going to have to go through anyway. She's going to have to fight for it if she wants it. And it got to the point where basically the thing it pretty much ran a wedge between me and her, because we were like very, very close friends. And then all of a sudden she couldn't stand me.
And by she, you mean her demon,
because
of course.
The reason why it was around me, because it wanted me. And see, I was playing a really, really risky game with sticking around for that situation. That was one of those situations where I stuck around too long.
Yeah.
I was playing a risky game because I was aware of the intentions of the entity. She was not aware of, because a lot of times I would have direct eye contact with that thing, and I would see it in dream state. As far as when I went to sleep, I was like, okay, I could see the motives more clear when I was in dream state. And I was just like, and then I would come back from the astral. And then and when she would have certain actions towards me and reactions, I knew that it was the thing. It wanted me to compromise myself so it could take over me because it felt my power.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? And wanted to overtake me. And so when it found out basically that I was pretty much, it could read minds too, that I was pretty much strategically kind of outmaneuvering all of the, advances and, the little tricks and everything. I wasn't going to let that shit happen. I was kind of doing a dance, but trying to help her. And when it figured that shit out, that it wasn't going to get me, like ever, and I was trying to basically separate, kind of debark her ass off my friend, that's when the entity went crazy. I don't know. The girl flipped, man. The girl flipped, and it was all kind of stuff. Like, she couldn't stand me. She just was like, oh, no, I can't fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, she doesn't know why she said that. And she was like, oh, I really miss our friendship. But it was like the shit that she said and did was like some stuff that you can't really come back from, dude. Like, the entity really went ham and, worked it through her. And it's sad. Like, I don't know where she's at with that today. I couldn't tell you because we did lose touch. But I just really have compassion for her, but I can't fuck with her though.
Yeah, I just had a similar situation just happen. So the one I was talking, it just happened similar to that. And the last thing I said to the sister was, you're letting your demons win. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Meaning
some people say demons and they're talking about inner demons. Like, I'm talking about this shit was like actual, you know what I'm saying?
No,
it was an attachment.
I'm not talking about that. No, I know the difference. I know that we all have demons. We all have demons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we all have inner demons.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But what I'm talking about is like,
it's spiritual attachment.
What it was is she had a very rough childhood, very rough, abusive childhood, and physically, sexually. You know what I'm saying? And
this chick the same.
Yeah, and so
she had some issues. Yeah, that's how you kind of attract that kind of shit anyway.
Yeah. So what it is there's a higher self and a lower self, but most people's lower selves is something that they can handle. But for her, like her little girl, right? Her little girl, in order for her to keep in order for her to keep that little girl safe, what she did and what she allowed is for a demonic entity to come above that, and to keep that little girl, quote unquote safe, right? But really, all it did was it made a big giant defensive barrier where anybody who would ever try to give the love of God, the eternal love, right, for her that she needed in her life, it would keep them out, because so it could suck from her. It could suck from her scared little girl energy. And
that's common. I mean, regardless of the class of the entity.
Yeah.
That's common. The isolation, anybody that shows any type of light or love or any type of energy that uplifts them, that really kind of raises their vibration, they're doing something to cut them out, to shut them out away, because therefore they wouldn't have a place to live.
Bingo.
They wouldn't have a home to piss a pot in, because they can't occupy anything that's gonna, in that type of vibration. So that upliftment, that light,
correct,
and that energy is not serving them.
Exactly. So that's why. See, now these people don't realize that a lot of the sugar addictions that they have, the weed addictions that they have.
Oh yeah.
These entities that are attached to them like that, because what it does, it gives them a fuel source where they get a real quick rise and then they crash.
Exactly.
Real quick rise and they crash.
Any type of high stimulant or addiction, and if it's something that you can't kick, you really do need to kind of investigate whether you do have a attachment, because that's how they manifest, or sometimes that's how they're attracted to. Like, if you've developed an addiction on your own and you've created that thought form, and thought form is something physical, it's an astral part of your astral body. Like, let's say you have 3 different parts of your personality. Like, you love the piano, you always done music, and that's part of there's a little bubble, astral bubble. That's your music personality. Let's say, okay, this part, you really like strip clubs. Like, you addicted to porn. You create a thought form that is physically attached. That's a little astral bubble that's over there, okay? And the more and more you do these activities, you create a whole nother entity in itself. We create a universe within a universe when we have thoughts. You know what I mean?
Correct,
People
yes.
don't understand that. And so through sheer magnetism, those new creations, they're attached to us, our aura, and they're just kind of floating around us. And so, like, let's say that porn addiction that you've created now, and that entity which is a thought form entity that you've created yourself, is kind of floating around out there. That addiction in itself can attract a disembodied entity, someone that maybe has who's earthbound. They've left their body, they died, and they haven't moved on. But let's say they had a porn addiction when they were alive, and now they're looking for a vessel to fulfill that part of themselves, and so they're going to be attracted to the person who has created that thought form and addiction in themselves. And so now this entity comes and attaches to you. That's how you attracted it, because of that. And that's what they were seeking. They're looking for a vessel to express those sexual desires that kept them attached to this earth, because that's something of the body.
Correct.
That, okay, I don't have a body now. I need a body to experience the sexual things. So they look for a new body to attach to. And so now all of a sudden you're doing some freaky shit with demonic motherfuckers that you never even done. You're like, damn, I ain't never done no shit like this. And now your sex addiction is like clinical. You're like Eric Benet out this bitch. Like, it's fucking up your life at this point. Like, you got divorced from your wife. You fucked up on your whole family. It's to the point where you lost your job. Like, that's the kind of shit that can happen. You can attract that.
Correct.
By opening that door, through your own addiction. Or it could be that you didn't have it. Now, this is a clear sign to where you didn't have any inkling, no desire for, let's say it's like alcohol. Okay, you had no desire. You've never been an alcoholic. You don't even drink heavy. You just drink socially. You have no desire for it, but you go through something that really, really traumatizes you. Your vibration. You're in the underworld right now. Let's say you lose your daughter. You're just going through hell. You go through a deep depression. You never had any desire to do alcohol, but now you've just opened yourself up to attachments because you're vibrating so low because you're wallowing in the depression. Okay? This is just an example. So you attract an entity, and because your defenses and your spiritual immune system is completely down, you have no defense system. You're easily attached to. So this entity is now attached to you. Okay, now but you don't know. It's unsuspecting. Your life is normal. So you go on. You kind of get out of the depression. You're going back to a normal life. It still hurts, but you kind of moved on. You're not in that deep depression anymore. And so everything's normal. But then all of a sudden one day, you just start drinking, and you don't know where the fuck it came from. This entity during your low point was able to get to you. A lot of times they don't present with any issues in your life. They like to hang out a long time. They like dark, warm, dark places. And like you said, the sugar, negative things like that, stimulants really feed them.
Let me go into that real quick about the sugar real quick. What is with the sugar? Why demons like you to have sugar is because, number one, they can never have you be energized where you're energized and you could kick them off you. You know what I'm trying to say? They need you to get excited and to crash, to get excited and to crash. You know what I'm trying to say? To be in a constant state of need so they can feed from that, And
well, it's another level to that too, because I have that's true, and I have a further understanding of it as well. The sugar, okay, so we live in a multidimensional, universe.
Yes.
It's multidimensional, so this is like occupying a lot of things. Occupy the same space at the same time. It's parallel universes. So, for instance, like my body's here, okay, that's on the 3D. You have my mind as a mental plane, and then you have, astral plane stuff, and then you have stuff that's on 2D and 1D. To be honest with you, and which you don't necessarily perceive, but it's still on a physical level. So, like, another thing with the sugar thing, and that's true because they do like extreme. They do like extreme, like emotions and energy spikes and crashing. You know what I'm saying? To where you never have a balanced footing. So
bingo. Yeah, there can never be peace. There can never be peace.
I feel you on that. But another aspect to the sugar thing is because it definitely lowers your vibration through, and it allows your body to be overtaken by bacteria. It really ruins your intestinal tract.
Yes.
And really the bad bacteria is on the second is really like kind of like a parasite, and it's kind of like the two-dimensional body version of a lot of those demons that are in spiritual form.
Yes,
they
correct.
look kind of ugly. They might look like some big ass entity, but in physical form, their physical form is really kind of like a bacteria. To be honest with you,
of
a
course.
virus or a parasite.
Bingo.
And that's why spiritually, in the Gnostics or and also the like the the Nazarenes, the Essenes. They and other spiritual sects, even Buddhists and ancient Hindu. I mean, like all of them always taught to learn the higher spiritual sciences. The first thing a lot of times you needed to do, and they had the initiates to do, was to denounce meat and denounce. You had to eat clean. And that was kind of like the first step of learning higher truths in mystery schools as well. And it's because spiritually they knew what it was spiritually, that it was basically lowering your vibration, and it allowed like entities and like parasites to invade your body, and those the entities invade you via the parasites. That's how they get a stronghold and a foothold on you. So a lot of times, if your ass is nasty, like internally, like you just eat a lot of junk food. That's why they make you eat that junk food for that reason. Like you see a lot of people that are vibrating low, and they're like eating junk food. They're eating fucking McDonald's chicken nuggets, motherfucking sugar, cookies, soda pop, Kool-Aid with a whole bunch of sugar, sweet tea. They always got to have carbs and all that kind of shit like that, because that's feeding the parasites, the bacteria, the bad bacteria. Because mind you, there are other bacteria that are benevolent, that have a spiritual body that is kind of like more of angelic. They help. If you saw them in the spirit, you see how they really look. But in physical, they just look like little microscopic bacteria. But you have to mind you, there are millions of them, and they invade your intestines. And mind you, your mind is controlled by your gut. A lot of people don't realize that mental issues and issues dealing with the brain, they're like going to a fucking neurologist. You need to be going to like either a nutritionist or somebody that will tell you how to detox, because it starts in your ass. Healing your mind always starts in the ass, and that's what the spiritual adepts of ancient times, they knew and always practiced, and the initiates would come, and even the Essenes and the Nazarenes. If you come down to Christianity, I mean the Sufis, the mystical. The mystical Muslims of Islam.
Sect of Islam, yeah.
Every religion has an esoteric side. That this is for the esoteric Bible that was taken literally. That's just for like the babes. They're always going to take it literal. And then there was the esoteric side that for people that had a higher spiritual eye, that they were deemed fit. That they had a level of discipline, they had a level of self-control, and just fortitude, just inner fortitude, spiritual vibration about themselves, and they were able to follow the simple rules they were brought in and brought in and taught the esoteric that was always there, but wasn't given out to everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So,
of course,
for Islam, it was this, some of the Sufi stuff. For Judaism, it was more of like the, I don't want to say Kabbalah because some of that is mixed in with some bullshit. But I mean, there's some Jewish mysticism and magic and shit. And then the Christianity, there was the esoteric side of that as well. And then like a lot of the Eastern spiritual systems, they never did have an esoteric or exoteric. They just kind of kept that shit how it was. But mind you, a lot of that was adulterated too by man. They say, a lot of the text, some of the Hindu texts and the Vedic texts had changed over time because men started to add their own stuff in it. So there's nothing that hasn't been touched and fucked up by just common men. So we always have to have a spirit of discernment if you're reading from those books. But anyway, that was one of the first things that they said. All of them are congruent with that you have to to get that higher spiritual knowledge. Start with eating clean first, because they knew you had to clear your ass to clear your mind and loosen the control over these entities. They take that bacteria and those parasites in your gut that creates a wormhole, no pun intended, for kind of like a a portal from one dimension to another, and they have a physical body to inhabit those parasites and those entities, and then therefore they control from the other dimension, but they inhabit your body through this physical parasite, and they control your mind. They control your mind. You know, I know you know about that. Those parasites, like when you have that shit in there, people, they do shit they don't even want to do. You know what I'm saying? They just...
Listen, I had an ex-girlfriend that had candida, and
did she clear it up?
Eventually, but let me
if it overtakes you, candida can be difficult. It changes a person too.
It took her mind over. Because she was like, sneaking like candy bars under her pillow. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I was like, she was like, it was just the point where like it was. I saw that it was literally like it infected her mind to the point that had taken over her body. It was crazy. You know what I'm trying to say? It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely understand what you're talking about. I want to talk about one thing here that you mentioned, or that we mentioned about, the with the sugar and the excitement and the crashes and the excitement and the crashes, the constant highs and lows, right? And the never finding stillness. That demon, right? That has a hold of this sister that was working on her energy. What it did was, when she got on the call, first thing she's like, I'm like, all right, sister. I'm like, sister, like, calm, like, just calm down a little bit. You know what I'm trying to say? Just like, relax, what it is, and it was the demon doing it. What I realized is that that demon made it so like she needed to try and be in control of the vibration of the situation that she's in. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Meaning that she when she comes in, she has to act as if she's happy, as if there's nothing wrong with her for the sake of that demon. Does that make sense? So she puts on a certain...
I've seen those types too, and I can't. Oh God, it drives me crazy. It's like you always have to be happy when they're going through hell right now. It's like, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to express some. Every time I ask you how you're doing, if you're not doing fine, you don't have to say fine and be like all hyped, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like they think they have to be like that. And I've seen that, but I didn't necessarily associate it with the demon. But you're making me think now.
I got this shit to a fucking science.
Because it's like something's going on. It's like, why can't you be authentic?
I'll tell you why. They cannot be authentic, and they cannot be at peace. They can never be at rest. Because if they're ever at rest, that'll expose the demonic entity that's inside of them, and they have to face their own inner demons.
Right, because that particular entity is feeding off of that energy spike.
Bingo.
That type of energy
That's exactly
spike.
it. That's exactly it. And so what I created a vibration of peace, where I said, let's tone it down a little bit. Let's meditate. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And when the thing is, now normally she was able to do that, but this thing is, I had this demon weak. Like I said, I had that motherfucker in a headlock. You know what I'm trying to say? And so she was like, you could hear, and I could see that she was getting upset. I said, as an empath, we have to be very careful of, just like our vibrations, and not to get too excited. You know what I'm trying to say? Because that can throw us off balance a bit. You know what I'm trying to say? Especially when we're trying to conserve
24/7.
When we're trying to conserve energy. You know what I'm trying to say? And so number one, I'm protecting my energy because I know that her demon wants to get me excited so he can feed off of me in the same way that it wants her to get excited with sugar. Right? Because sugar is concentrated love or converted energy of the sun. And these demons want you to be codependent upon that as an escape for pain. Because if they know that you ever go inward through meditation and face that pain, you may find God. And if you find God an eternal source of love and not just a temporary fix or feeling of love or comfort through sugar, that you may no longer need them anymore. And she wants that love. That demon just like that demon that you're dealing with, that demon wanted my love. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
So it was like, yeah, let's go in and use this guy as a healer and see the potential of his love. You know what I'm trying to say? Oh, he has great love. Now let's see if I can somehow exploit that. You know what I'm trying to say? Now we've established something. Meaning they're slick. They'll do anything. So they may come.
Oh yeah, they slick. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So what it is that she like I can actually see the way her inner child is is fighting with a demon. You know what I'm trying to say? Her inner child talked to me and she's like, she was all into like, and I've noticed this recently with dealing with creating a site for empath. A lot of these sisters that are into this like, this Yoruba stuff.
Yeah, the Orishas and Ifa.
Yo, a lot of these sisters have hella demonic entities on them, man.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that's across the board, but nobody's like.
I'm not saying all of them do.
On that.
I've met some good sisters from Puerto Rico that are not fucked up like that. But I'm saying some of these sisters into this Orisha shit.
Santeria,
Some of these sisters got some entities on them. Let me fucking tell you, because what I realized is that this sister, she's like, well, I don't, I pray to energies, whatever. I mean, energies. I said to myself, like, if that energy, quote unquote, is not down here on earth with you getting its ass kicked, it's nothing you need to be praying to. So there's no energies, quote unquote, that you need to be praying to outside yourself. That kind of mentality, I think, regardless of your faith or your spiritual tradition, can open people up to entities who are seeking hosts, often without them even knowing it.
They got 1 million practitioners of Yoruba in the United States alone, all white. 1 million. Over 1 million practitioners. Think to them niggas in damn Nigeria. And do you know that the number one, and now that shit becoming such a hierarchy, it's infiltrated by the government. Do you know that the number one head of the Yoruba organization in the United States of America is a white Jew out of Chicago? Them Nigerians done put a white Jew the head of the damn, he like the chief Babalao in the United States, a goddamn cracker. Most of the Yoruba thing now is it's a much more glorified, advanced, ritualistic religion, but it's still a religion. And most Babalaos don't know they ass from a hole in the ground right now. Right now. I challenge all them motherfuckers. And I kill them bastards too. I got the power to do it. And I tell you something, them motherfuckers ain't got no more magic than me. I'm telling you. Them motherfuckers, I'm telling you, the government done tried to use some of them niggas to do magic on me, and the shit don't work with me. Because what it is they fuck up, and the shit that they put on me just make me stronger, because the same energy is inside of me. They'd be opening up shit on me and helping me out. But you can do that when you get to a certain level. But now, when you in the company of the God level, ain't nothing can touch you. So they sent a sister up there, she was doing all kind of shit with me in my lecture. And she was getting mad because, man, it was pumping me up more. I was going crazy. She was throwing all her shit on me, trying to kill me up in there. And I was bad. I was like, man, woo, it's powerful up in here. But she didn't know. The energy that she was using was my damn energy, because I'm one with the gods. And that's the difference between a religion.